So chiropractically, stress also causes what we call subluxation. And if you remember from the beginning, we said our whole purpose is to detect and correct subluxation so the body may return to a state of health, right? So we can live as well as possible for as long as possible. So as we've said, stress can be anywhere. It can be big, it can be little. Nevertheless, we are really good at adapting to it, right? We can fall, we can sit at a desk all day, we can stand at a concert for hours, we can even come in contact with millions and millions of germs and defend ourselves against them pretty well most of the time. But when we fail to fully adapt to something, we develop subluxation, right? And if stress is a force, which represents an energy, physics tells us it can't be created or destroyed. So if we can't fully use something, we have to hold on to part of it. And what these subluxations do is they affect our neurospinal system and create interference, right? They physically affect the amount of information that any nerve in the body may carry from point A to point B. And they do this like a dimmer switch, right? It's kind of like when the outlet in our kitchen stops working and the toaster shuts off, right? The toaster's fine, the power's fine, but it's not getting there, right? So we have an issue with the quantity and quality of information that any nerve or wire may be carrying within the body. So I'm going to give you a little example. If we have a subluxation in our neck that affects the nerves that control our heart rate and rhythm, and instead of 60 beats a minute, we only get 58, it's really not a big deal, right? Our cardiologist wouldn't care, we wouldn't feel it, we probably wouldn't see it, no one would know. But at the end of the day, we'd miss 2,700 heartbeats a day. And this would absolutely restrict our potential for everything we're going to do, right? Everything we need that circulation and blood to do. Our movement, our athletic potential, our health, our healing, our detoxification, our digestion, everything. And what's most significant about subluxations is they tend to stay silent until symptoms develop, right? Symptoms are actually a really poor indication of subluxation. And it happens for a few reasons. One, our brain disengages, right? When stuff stops changing, our brain stops telling us about it. We put on clothes in the morning, we put on our wedding ring, our glasses, our brain stops telling us it's there about 15 seconds after we put it on. So when there's subluxations in the spine, if things stops changing, our brain goes, hey, I got other stuff to worry about. We're going to let this one slide. However, when symptoms do develop, they show up for one of a few reasons. They show up as a sign that we failed to adapt to something, right? We twisted the ankle, now it hurts. Or they show up as a sign that our body's working on something, right? So when we can't defend ourselves against that germ, our body generates a fever to eradicate it and sweat it out. And what's the final thing about subluxation and the way it affects our neurospinal system is that it sets us up to develop faulty patterns, right? So if you can imagine that we are not perceiving our needs clearly, it becomes a small leap to understand how we can set up patterning that maybe doesn't fulfill us as well as it could.